なさい。オーケー。Let's go!
All right, let's get straight to the biscuits. At 0800 hours this morning, an American soldier was eaten by a Nazi dinosaur.
That's a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No, Claire, that's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Try thinking first before you open your mouth.
Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va très bien. You know what I'm saying? Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, I was just chilling. I was working on some sketch stuff, laying out some stuff. And I said, man, I should fire up a stream. You know, and other people were saying, hey, I might stream later. And I was like, okay, well, maybe if I stream now, I get out of their way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're just going to do that. I might. I got some, way over here. I got some Godzilla-based art books to look at, you know, all kinds of them from the 70th anniversary. So I might look at some Godzilla books later. But right now, drawing, sketching, you know, doing that kind of stuff. How's everybody doing tonight? I see a young Noah Mactudis in here. Mark's Music's Obsession dropped in to say, what up, dog? K-Pop's here. How you doing? Who knows what I'll be streaming? What I'm doing right now, what I'm doing right this instant, if I can share my screen, is, where you at? Boom. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm laying out a young Red Sonja, you know? But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. We're chilling. Just trying to kind of get the feel for where I want to go with my roughs. You know, how I want the hair to flow. You know, that kind of fun. But yeah, how's everybody doing tonight? You know? Are we doing well? Yeah, we get in here. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Goddamn, undo. See, that's the beauty, right? Like, you know what I mean? You get in here and you say to yourself, man, that's not what I wanted. Why should I get stuck with it? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. You know? So if you got to throw that hand in there, you do it. And I try not to do this. I try not to be like in here, you know, looking at the pixels. I try to avoid being all up in them pixels. I try to stay kind of out in this general area for roughing things in. And so, right. But like here's the thing, here's the beauty of working in Clip Studio, right? Like I can just put the hair on a layer, and if I don't like it, I can change it at any point. I can do whatever I want with it. You know what I mean? I can get in there and I can define that line as much as I want, or I can just undo. I can erase it. I can just take my thing and just erase it all. You know, that's the key. The other thing that I'm, excuse me, not doing right now is soothing your ears, you know, with a good beat, a good back intenseness, you know, none of this. Oh, you know what I mean? The soothed, subtle sounds of my song quenches your ears, you know? She could be. That's the key to it. That's the beauty. And I've kind of figured out, like, in a weird way, the way I rough stuff out, in some ways, is more equivalent to painting, right? Like I'll close this entirely, right? And so, like, I'll just make a new layer up here, right? Like, when I'm sketching certain things out, I'm going to put this up top. When I'm sketching certain things out, right? Like, I'll do like a rough head, right? And if I do that shape, you know, and put the neck here, and, you know, it's like, okay, we're going to put the shoulders here and do that. Like, I do like a rough situation like this, and then I just kind of fill my stuff in, and as I go, you know, I will mark things out, right? And then I just kind of tear down. Like, I slowly kind of just like go, like, I'm going to define the jaw. There are bits there. And I kind of wear things down until I get to that thing I want. Like, I'm never drawing like, okay, this line matters. This line also matters. This line matters. Like, everything has to be whatever, right? Like, I'm just getting in here and doing the roughs, right? And you can see everything starting to take shape, but it's not this, right? Like, it's not this at that point, like, but that's how her face started, right? Like, that's how, like, that face started, you know, like that, right? Like, whenever I laid in her silhouette, like, and you can see, like, whenever I put stuff there, right? Like, you can see that I came in here and I was like all roughing things in, right? And so that's kind of the thing, like, with the way I've always worked once I went digital, because, like, this rough process of, like, laying all this in is just like removing the steps of light boxing, removing the steps of, like, oh, okay, I got my rough, I got my thumbnail. Now I scan that in, then I blow it up, then I print it out, then you know what I mean? Like, I kind of do the thumbnail, do the roughs, and then I kind of build it to clean pencils. Like, I will come in here, like, with white, like, I wouldn't normally do this right now, but, like, you know, I would come in here and just, like, go for a larger brush, come in here and just remove this stuff. Right? Like, this indicator stuff that was there for, you know, her center line, for her rib cage, and, like, see right here where I just erased, like, where her rib cage would be with her breast on top of it. I just kind of start clearing that rough stuff out and then end up with a clean line, right? And then I would ink it, right? And so, yeah, I kind of slim down into from my rough into cleaner pencils, right? Like, that's kind of always how I've worked, right? And so that's kind of the interesting thing about it. Oh, hey, what's going on, Henry? Okay, so here's the thing, Henry of the Bemuses. I love original Gem and the Holograms. The movie was garbage, and all the IDW comics were weird, woke, lesbian fan fiction. They weren't Gem and the Holograms. It just wasn't the show. It was all that IDW stuff, or Boom, or whoever fucking had the rights from Hasbro. All of that stuff is fucking trash. Like, you can go read it on, like, you know, some of the comic reading sites or whatever to find out for yourself. But every single bit of that Gem stuff is trash. It is fan fiction. It is people slapping a weird skin suit on Gem and the Holograms. It is not Gem and the Holograms. It doesn't carry on the story. It doesn't respect or represent that show, right? Like, it's like making a G.I. Joe comic and it being nothing about anybody that's in G.I. Joe. You don't even recognize the people, even though they have the same name, right? Like that is it. Like, I would not give the Boom people or the whatever that current Gem garbage is, I wouldn't give them a dime. I wouldn't buy it just because it says Gem on it. It's fucking trash. Period. Full stop. Like, just trash. Like, you know. So yeah, right? Like, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, I would like to say, man, that's awesome. But in good conscience, I couldn't endorse that. I couldn't even allow people to think that that was something they should support or enjoy. Yeah. Yes. And well, in like, basically, like, they made everybody like fat and weird, and they started pushing all this weird shit in it. And it's kind of like when they added that female turtle to the Turtles, right? Like, they kind of just did all this woke weird shit to it, and like, the art is bad. The characters don't even act like the characters. It's just, the whole thing is just garbage. Like, just straight up trash, right? Like, and that to me, that's a sin, right? Like, even if you want to look at Gem as like strictly a like young adult youth property, female IP, they've ruined it, right? And to me, like, it's weird. Like, back in the 80s, Gem was essentially like an animated like TV series about a band who was trying to raise money for Starlight House, like for this orphanage, right? Like, the whole show is basically about these people running an orphanage, them trying to raise money, and then a rich girl who also starts a band tries to kill them and destroy their orphanage. Like, in every turn, in every episode, somebody almost dies, whether that someone pushes a gargoyle off a building on them, or someone cuts their brakes, or someone tries to run them off the road, someone sets a building on fire that they're in. There's always some kind of like damn near murderous intent that they just slightly escape every single time, right? It's kind of like almost murder of the week with every episode, right? And so, yeah, so that's the thing, you know. No. Listen, that's Henry asked a leading question, KSS, and now I have to burn everyone to the ground. I can't help it. That's just how it is. Also, hello, Bancroft. How are you doing this fine evening? I'm sketching out a Red Sonja, but I've also been diverted into talking about Gem and the holograms. It's how it goes. It's just how it goes, you know? So yeah. You know, that's just the way it is. That's just how it's gonna be. But yeah, right, like, it's one of those things, like, and I know, like, if you're unfamiliar with the IP, you're kind of like, you would look at those books and assume that, yeah, sure, it's just like the continuing adventures of Gem. And I wish it were. I really do. I really wish it was actually true to the show, but it's not, right? Like, yeah, that's kind of the unfortunate situation you find yourself in when you're a fan of obscure, you know, somewhat obscure IP, right? Like, I'm sure some of us are aware of it just from growing up as kids or whatever, but I think the reality for most people is it is somewhat obscure, and it was kind of like weirdly brought to light, mostly, you know, weirdly in a lot of like the like drag communities and stuff like that, who like have somehow latched on to Gem as some kind of weird thing that they don't know what it is. It's very weird. Like, you'll see, like, if you've ever watched like RuPaul's Drag Race or anything like that, they would actually mention Gem, but it was always in such a like kind of like third, fourth hand way, like, oh, I know what that is. And so it's probably something the gay community should latch onto, but that show is like weirdly the least gay thing. If you go, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you go back and watch the show, like, the Eric Raymond guy is like all businessman. He's running all this stuff. He literally backhands Jem, like Rio. All these guys are getting into fights all the time. Like, it's weirdly one of the least gay shows that gay people seem to have grabbed onto, that has nothing to do with homosexuality, other than the fact that a girl changes from one thing to another with a hologram. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very odd, bizarre latching onto from a community that doesn't seem to understand what it's latching onto. Other than there's a girl that wears pink and she spins around and turns into another girl. Which I guess makes sense for the trans community. I don't know, but you know, like that kind of shit. But other than that, you know, like other than that, I'm not sure what the exact extent to their knowledge or awareness of what Jem and the Holograms is, right? Like, but yeah, like that kind of shit's always wild to me. But yeah, with that said, I'm still just feeling. Here's also the other thing that I love about working digitally, and when I'm straight up working traditionally, I will do this a lot, right? And so, like, a lot of times, if I want to make sure that something is balanced, right? Like when you flip her left to right, she looks balanced, right? And so when you're working traditionally, a lot of people would either lightbox the stuff they're working on and flip it. Like Dale Keown will, when he's working on stuff, he'll do the pencils on one side, flip it, do the tight pencils as he's making sure that the image is balanced, right? And so this is the digital way of doing that, right? And so then he will start inking and doing all stuff, and you can flip it back and forth the entire time. Another good way to do that is either like take a picture of it with your phone, or if you have like an overhead camera while you're working traditionally, and then you can just like quickly grab a screenshot and kind of flick it back and forth to kind of get your, you know, your mirror. Because like back in the old days, they would just hold a mirror like to the page to make sure that the perspective was correct, that their eyes were on, right? Like, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And so, yeah, you'll see me and a lot of other digital artists do this a lot. If you watch some of the other guys, like, they do a lot of like straight on shots, almost intentionally on streams, so they don't have to do any flipping, right? Like I've seen, is it Panosian or is it the other guy? I think it's Dan Panosian. And he will just draw like Kamen Rider or Guyver faces straight on, but he uses the mirror tool and he just draws these super detailed, like straight on faces. And so he doesn't have to worry about this. He doesn't have to do the flip. He doesn't have to make sure that her eyes aren't wonky or that her nose is in the right spot or whatever. And so, yeah, like that's the thing, right? Yeah. We got I guess I could push on this so I could see the comments instead of looking over at the other thing. Yeah, Taylor Swift. Look, well, here's the thing, right? Back when like American Idol was like a really big show, I was always like, this would be the perfect time to bring Jem back, right? Because they would run these shows and then they would put singles out for all the shows, right? Like, you know, some guy would sing his version of, you know, Let Her Cry or whatever it is. And when they were in the finals, they would put those songs out on iTunes as singles. And I was like, we're in the perfect time. You could have Jem come back. Each show has like 3 songs on it. Put them on iTunes once a week. And then boom, money, right? And you could have guest bands come on and, like, you know, you could do all kinds of stuff with that model. But, you know, I don't know. I think there's a clear lack of vision at Hasbro, like it makes no sense to me why that IP isn't more popular than it is. Like, really, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where when I was growing up, there was, and one of the reasons why I even started watching Gem in the first place is there was a Robotics, Bigfoot, and Gem Power Hour is what it was called. And they had no commercials, and they cut the openings and endings, had this weird mixed opening ending of all three shows right at the start and right at the end. And you basically got an hour of cartoons, right? And yeah, and that's how I started watching it. And I was kind of like, oh, this show is actually good. And this was like little kid, like, you know, I don't know, maybe 10, 8 or 10 or something like that. And I just remember just being like, oh, this isn't this lame girl show after all. Oh, you don't flip, Bancroft? You're not a flipper? You don't flip and go, damn, this face is wonky as fuck. I need to fix it. Yeah, like that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It would drive me crazy, right? If I wasn't flipping to make sure and I don't do it all the time. Once the face is done, I'm never flipping again, right? Like, it's like, and that's why, like, in the state it's in right now, the face is all clean and nice, right? Because I'm just like, let's make sure this is good. The rest of the thing will fall into place, right? Like, for me, the face, the eyes, and then after that, it's the hair and the hands. Everything else I worry about later, but the hair and the hands, the face are like the important things, because they do all the expressiveness, right? Like, the hair is super expressive, the face and the eyes are super expressive, and the hands, you know. And so I'm always thinking, like, excuse me, whenever I'm drawing anything, like even when I did that like magnet thing for you, Bancroft, like the number one thing I think about more than any other part in the piece is what are they doing with their hands? Like, what is the subtle movement? What is the gesture that I'm trying to convey? Because, like, you know, most people just have people stand there and their hands are, you know, little square blocks, or they're doing whatever, and they're not really conveying, they're not speaking, they're not like emoting with their hands, you know, they're not like shaking a fist or doing whatever. Their hands are just down by their sides, and it's like really boring. I will see them for right this second. Look, I look at my clock and it says 7:29. We had the Power Hour briefly on Saturdays. Then Gem got her own 22 minutes of garbage. Stuck her between G.I. Joe and Silverhawks. Yeah, like, and that's the thing, right? Like, there were like a lot of these weird blocks of shows where it was like, you know, Inhumanoids and all those kind of shows too, right? Like, so you were definitely out there being like, oh, I can watch Inhumanoids, or I could watch G.I. Joe and Gem and what was it? Kid Video and thing. Like, there was just a ton of really cool Bionic 6. Like, there was a ton of cool cartoons, and they were all just commercials for toys, right? Like, you know, but they were awesome, right? Like, I was such a huge fan of that entire era. Like, growing up in that era, it's so weird. Like right now. Oh, hey, what's going on, Angela? I appreciate it. But yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like, all those cartoons and all those shows were super important. Like, I just can't even imagine growing up as a kid today, and the only thing you have is like Netflix or Prime TV or Disney Channel or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's very bizarre to me, right? Like, where all that stuff, I don't know. There is no singular consciousness kind of now, like, and not in like a Borg kind of way, but in like that water cooler shared culture kind of way, right? Like, you don't get to, you know, talk to people like about what happened on TV last night. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I'm not yelling at clouds or anything like that. I'm just here working, on this. This is how it is. But here's the thing, right? Like, the shared culture is essentially Fortnite now, right? Like, Fortnite is the shared culture, right? Like, my nephew will be like, "Oh, it's that character from Fortnite," and I'm like, "You mean Batman?" Like, you mean Batman from Fortnite? Like, and so, like, and he's like 13, right? And so for him, he doesn't even know that some of this stuff comes from comic books, or that some of this stuff comes from, like, I had a big conversation. It was actually pretty interesting. I had a big conversation with my nephew and his friend about who was more powerful, like Thor or the Scarlet Witch. And then I explained House of M to them, and they were like, "Oh," and like, Scarlet Witch is crazy powerful, And so, yeah, it was pretty interesting to, like, talk to kids, and they're still having those same types of discussions, like, who is more powerful, Thor or Scarlet Witch, right? It's not the Hulk versus the Thing or whatever, but they're still having those conversations, right? Which kind of, to me, was a relief, right? That I'm talking to, like, two kids. We're running around as a trio in Fortnite, and they were like, "Oh, about all this stuff. That's cool," right? And so I still think there's hope. I still actually think that there's hope for that, the teens that are coming up right now, which is good, right? Like, I actually do feel like that is, because I was kind of worried, right? And they were giving each other shit. And this is the thing, right? Like, I was super worried that everyone was so soft, because I know guys who were, like, in their 30s, and you can't trash talk them in video games. You can't talk shit to them. They get butthurt. But these two were talking shit to each other about not getting kills, and I was giving them shit, and they were cool with it. They weren't getting upset, right? Like, they were rolling with it, and they were talking, and I was relieved. Like, I was strangely relieved that, like, these kids were being kids, right? Like, as weird as that is to say, right? They did listen, KSS. They did ask me if I knew what 6-7 meant, and I did, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool," like, And then I said it's dumb, and they agreed, and we moved on. So, yeah, right. Like, but that's the thing, right? Like, that's just how it is. Right? Like, they didn't realize the Scarlet Witch could arguably take out all the... Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, because and I explained to them, I was like, they thought and she thought her power was magic, right? So the whole concept of the Scarlet Witch being like, okay, I understand my power as this, that's the only way it can manifest, right? Until she broke, as it were, she didn't understand the power that she actually had, right? So her power was limited by her awareness of that power. Yes, see, exactly. See, I think there is hope, right, KSS? Like, I do actually think that, like, this generation coming up is a little bit more based, and a little bit, like, more willing to kind of push back, right? And they're seeing a lot of this stuff, because I do really feel like that, like, a lot of the millennials and a lot of, like, I would say some Gen X, and I would say some of the Gen Z and stuff like that, I feel like they kind of, like, lost hope in a weird way, because nothing was theirs. Everything was, like, Boomer and Gen X hand-me-downs, like, all the IPs, all the stories, all that stuff. And so they had nothing, right? And so I think because they had nothing, they either wanted to ignore it or destroy it, right? And so, like, and that's why you've seen so many of these, like, younger people, if they came out of an animation school or they came into Marvel or DC Comics, they hated that there was so much history. They hated that there was so much backstory, so much continuity, so much lore that they had to adhere to, right? And so they just sought to destroy it all, right? And I do think it's that simple. Like some of it sure is culture, some of it sure is all the woke ideology, all that kind of stuff. But I do think that there's a really large part of it that just comes from a place of, I hate all your shit, old man. I don't want to fucking deal with it. I hate you for making me adhere to this bullshit. I'm just going to wreck your toy box, right? And so they just destroyed everything. And I do think, and I even think Absolute Batman is a part of that. I think there's a reason why, like, people like Noah and stuff like that are attaching themselves and are interested in Batman, because it eschews all that continuity. It breaks with all that tradition. It breaks with all that lore and continuity. And it's theirs. It's new to them, right? And there's no, like, everything is unfolding in a new way. So they actually get to be there when it starts, right? Like, just like I think that's also a part of the reason why manga is popular, because you get to buy the first volume and move on. And that's the thing, though, Noah. Like, it's a cultural milestone, but it also doesn't have the baggage that Batman has had for 40 years or 50 years, or, you know. I don't think history will remember it fondly. I think you might remember it fondly with nostalgia, but I don't think history itself will remember it fondly. I think that's the difference. I think that's the complete and utter difference in those two mindsets. Like, I just don't think, like, yeah. No, it's not because I'm old. I'm saying it's because of the things I just stated, right? Like, you like it because it isn't all that old Batman lore, right? Like, you like it because it is a fresh start and you can get into it, and it can be yours. It can be your Batman, right? Without having to know anything about the other Batman stuff, right? That's why it feels new and fresh, because it's just ignoring everything. But I still don't think, like, I'll be completely honest. If it wasn't called Batman, if the words Batman did not appear in it, no one would care. If this came out at Image and it was, you know, Wily Axeman, you know, Craig the Wily Axeman, no one would care, right? If he was fighting Weird Dinosaur Man and also fighting, you know, yoked out giant wrestler guy, no one would fucking care. Right? Like, if this didn't have a DC logo on it, the words Batman, and being pushed out by a big company, no one would give a fuck about it. Yeah. Well, exactly, Henry. But, right, like, I'm just saying, like, if I walked into, you know, like, let's say I went in and wrote, like, the ultimate or Wolverine Absolution, let's say, and then I just came in and, you know, Wolverine had, like, spikes and claws all over his body. You can pop them out at will. And then Sabretooth was a giant, like, were-tiger. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I just went in and did all that stuff. There would be a certain amount of people who would just pick it up because it had the word Wolverine on it, right? Whether it was good or not, right? And you can tell a good story and do weird things with those characters and do, like, a What If or an Elseworlds or a, you know, 619 or 616 or whatever Marvel world, you know, you want to put stuff in. But at the same time, right, like, if I do that same Wolverine book and I just call him Feral, Tooth and Claw, and I do the exact same thing, there's just going to be a bunch of people that don't care, right? It's the same as if you have a film noir, like, detective story, and you're like, oh, it's a pretty good case, and it's a gumshoe and whatever. But as soon as you slap Batman into the detective thing, it changes everything. It has a different cultural significance. You have an idea of Batman in your head and what he's capable of, and it changes it from, oh, lowly gumshoe who's, you know, working for $25 a day plus expenses, to Batman, you know, millionaire, playboy, in any era, right? Like if it's a 1940s Batman or 2025 Batman, there's an osmosis built up. There's a certain sense that everyone knows what Batman is, right? And so that exact same detective story can be great, but when you put Batman into it, for other people, it's better. It has better context. It sprawls instantly, and you know kind of what you're into, right? And so, what's KSS saying? What kind of comparison is that? Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly it. Hey, what's going on, Monkey King? But yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing where, you know, I think just the name brand recognition alone allows you to experiment more than you would if you were just at Image creating Feral Tooth and Claw versus Wolverine Absolution, right? Like, you're getting a built-in audience just with the word Wolverine on it, you know? And so, yeah, that to me, like, I like, and it's one of those things you can't, I don't know, you can't really A/B test it as easily as you would like to, right? Like, you know, because you can't just go, okay, Scott, please go out and write the same thing, but make it Craig the Axe Wielder, right? You know, or Billy the Axe Wielder, you know, with a dump truck, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just loses something the second that Batman's name is taken away from it, right? And so, yeah, I think that's the thing a lot of people don't think about, is that IP is incredibly strong, it's incredibly important, and it's incredibly valuable, right? Like 50 years of just the Batman logo being on T-shirts and being around, right? And people just seeing it and just kind of in their peripheral, just recognizing it. Yeah, Dump Truck Billy, you know, he's out there wrecking shit. Noah says, I'm just saying there's always a suspension of disbelief. It's not meant to be war and peace. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that either. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, I just don't think that like that book has the same success without the Batman name attached to it. That's it. I don't think you can dispute that. Like, I just don't think that's disputable in any way, shape, or form, right? Like, you know, you put Batman's name on it, it's going to sell. You take Batman's name off of it, it's not going to sell. And that's just how it's been for forever, right? People are always going to support something that they have a familiarity with, right? Like, that's why, like, straight up, that's why indie comics is so hard, right? Like, you're out there and you're trying to sell people on the unknown. You're trying, even no matter how good your work looks, no matter how cool the concept is, right? Somebody would rather give $20 or $50 or $100 to something they know versus the unknown, right? Like, and so when someone like goes and like, someone's just going to take a chance on Absolute Batman over, I don't know, Axe Wielder John, let's say, like, right? Let's compare Image Comics, Nick Patera, Axe Wielder John versus Absolute Batman. People are just going to see them on the shelf, and one person is going to pick up Absolute Batman, and they're going to leave Axe Wielder John there, even though they're a very similar premise. You know. Here's the thing, Noah. Like, you say, like, why do we care as an audience if it's gaining success because it's tied to Batman? I think you should care because you're just kind of feeding a machine that is using as an established IP to feed you drivel. Right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like you're basically getting kind of bait and switched, right? They're like, ooh, Batman. And then they go, no, but it's not the Batman you know. It's not anything about Batman that you like. Here's this, right? And I think, I don't know, I won't say it's dangerous per se, but I do think it does, like, you know, just kind of buying something because it has the logo, because it has the name brand on it, and not caring about the quality and just assuming it's going to be good. I think that is bad for the audience. I think that is bad for the market, just in general. You know, that, but that's just like, do you know what I mean? Like, because like, if people are just going to buy Batman when it says it has Batman on it, that means they're not going to give Mavericks a shot. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're basically saying like, oh, well, what does it matter if it says Batman on it? You know, people will buy Batman that's garbage over looking at Mavericks that might be new and interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because it says Batman on it. I think that's the concern you should have as the audience. Right? Like, that good things won't get a chance because they don't have the Batman logo on. Right? Good things won't get a chance because there's all this established IP out there that doesn't have to work as hard because it's built off the backs of other people. But well, there you go. I just said it. You should blame DC. You should blame somebody like Scott Snyder, because his success is built off the back of, like, Bob Kane. His success is built off the back of Jim Lee. His success is built off the back of every person who made Batman a reliable IP and brand. Right? No, I'm just saying. I'm not 100% shitting on Scott Snyder. He actually does have a very large body of work. I will give him that. I'm not, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm speaking, like, and here's the thing. I'm not shitting on Scott Snyder. I'm not. He does have, I'm speaking in generalities, right? Like, I'm literally not sitting there with a sniper rifle and being like, that fucking Scott Snyder. I'm just speaking in generalities. Like, he as a creator has a large output. But what I'm saying is that, like, the Batman IP trumps everything he's ever touched before. Right? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so none of his other work has been this popular. And any of his mainstream work is typically on, and you can see this when you look at other creators, right? If Scott Snyder tomorrow went out and made his own book that was called, you know, Tommy the Tank, right? Let's just say, like, Scott Snyder goes out, makes Tommy the Tank. I guarantee you it doesn't sell as well as Batman. His absolute Batman. Those people don't follow, right? They don't go over and follow the creator. They don't go and buy his Indiegogo. They don't go and buy his Kickstarter or whatever, right? And you know that for a fact. You can see it, like, even, yeah, exactly. Tommy the Tank was a good book. What's up, Tex? And that's the thing, right? No, see, Noah, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. Like, the reason specifically why things do well with the Batman name on them is because the Batman name is known and trusted, right? Like, DC's not making anyone like Batman, but people would give Batman a chance over Tom the Tank, written by the exact same person. Do you know what I'm saying? People are going to pick up Batman written by Scott Snyder, but they won't even look twice or consider Tommy the Tank written by Scott Snyder, right? That's the problem. Like, inherently, that is the problem with a lot of and that's the thing too with comic collectors, man. Woo. Like, I would argue that many of the books in the 90s never actually sold millions of copies, right? Like with a lot of that stuff, like my assumption is like same with like Spawn. I bet you Spawn in its heyday, like in its like million copy selling runs, was probably actually only selling to sub 200,000 people, maybe 250,000. You just had a lot of speculators buying 4 or 5 copies, and that made it a million selling book. Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like, Scott Snyder has the advantage of walking into DC and using an IP that other people have established over 50 years. Right? And it's the same with like Marvel. Like a whole bunch of people just walked in the door, wrote their version of Iceman, and, you know, made him gay or did whatever. And they didn't earn that. They didn't earn the right to shepherd those characters. Right? They just walked in, got the job for whatever reason, and then made the books, for better or worse. No, I don't think he's at fault for it per se. I just think that he wouldn't have that opportunity unless the other people did it. Right? Well, but here's the thing, right? Like, Monkey King, right? Like, for me, like, Ethan had a ton of goodwill for me because he did all that Green Lantern work. Right? So when he came out and started promoting his book and doing all that stuff, he had goodwill from me because he had created a bunch of books I really enjoyed. Like, I love that run of Green Lantern, Blackest Night, Rebirth, all that stuff, right? So he had some goodwill from that. But if you don't ship them, like if you're writing, here's my problem. Like, and I don't actually have any kind of hate towards Ethan or anything like that. But if you're writing comic books like they are monthly page turners, but you only put them out every 2 years or 3 years, that's where you lose me, right? Like if you write a book that's the equivalent to 22 pages and then it ends on a cliffhanger and then I have to wait 3 years for it, no, right? You can write that way if I'm waiting 3 weeks. You can write the cliffhanger. You can write the cliffhanger for the next one. You can write 6 issues of cliffhangers if I'm only waiting 3 weeks for a book. You can't write 4 or 5 issues of a book if I'm waiting 2 to 3 years between them. You just can't do it. It's not cool. You need to write books that have a beginning, middle, and ending, subplots, everything solid that naturally lead into the next episode. There can still be questions left over. There can still be all kinds of stuff to lead you into the next book. But you shouldn't be ending like, oh my God, he's going to die. And then leave me for 2 years, right? You just can't do that. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I've been saying. Oh, you never knew of his Green Lantern work? Didn't know his name at all prior to showing? Oh, really? That's interesting, Monkey King. That's a very different perspective than I have, right? Like, I kind of grew up, I was managing 2 comic book stores when he had his huge run at DC, right? Doing Green Lantern Rebirth, Blackest Night, all that stuff, right? And so, yeah, so for me, like, he had a bunch of goodwill built up as being a strong and established creator that worked with Jeff Johns, right? Let's see what we're going here. Yeah, here's the thing though, like, I'll kind of get to all this. Where are we at here? Listen, Scott is at fault as much as anybody at DC directorial is at fault for that, right? Like, it's like, I'm not saying, okay, here's the thing. I'm not saying that Scott Snyder shouldn't have a creative vision. I'm not saying he shouldn't do any of the things he's done, right? But what I'm saying is that, like, a lot of times, like, when you come into DC, when you come into Marvel, what you are at the time is a shepherd, right? You're coming in and you should leave the books better than you found them, right? And you should leave them good enough and in a good enough place that when the next person comes along, they don't have a shit mess to clean up, right? They're not stuck with a garbage book that they have to repair, right? You're supposed to be a shepherd for those characters. They're not yours. You just have your hand in their lore for a short time. Is the way I look at being given the honor of working on those established characters. You should treat them with respect, right? Like that's how I feel about any of the people who went into Marvel and DC and just shit all over those characters for the last 10 years, right? Like that's just me personally, right? Let's see. The writers of the big two are supposed to be custodians. Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to be custodians of the characters, and you are playing in someone else's sandbox, right? You're playing in Jack Kirby's, John Romita Jr.'s, Stan Lee's. You're playing in their sandbox. They created all this stuff, and you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and you kind of have to respect the people that came before you, insofar as you wouldn't be able to touch these things without them, right? Like you wouldn't even have the opportunity to work on something like Spider-Man if it wasn't for these guys, right? Like Spider-Man wouldn't exist. He wouldn't be as popular, all that kind of stuff, right? And so I do think there's a certain there's a certain gravitas, there's a certain responsibility to shepherding something and doing right by it, right? That's it, right? Like doing right by it. And I'm not saying don't be creative, don't do the things you want to do, but also understand that there are people before you and after you that also have to step up to the plate and do the same kind of shepherding, right? Yeah. Okay, yep. Never heard of any of the CG guys before CG, not one. Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. I never heard of Andy Smith before. I couldn't even tell you something he worked on to this day. I've never bothered to look. And so, yeah, there's some of these creators who've come over and were middling at best. Right? Like they were fill-in artists, they were whatever, right? And it is what it is. Like I'm not taking anything away from Andy Smith, not taking anything away from any of these guys, right? They worked, they put in their dues, but they weren't big names, right? Like you don't go, oh man, Andy Smith's run on X was amazing, right? Like, and so there are just people who are in different calibers, in different categories of creator. It's just how it fucking is. Until you've earned, your right to stand up there and have people go, oh man, I love that guy's work, right? Like until you have people saying they love your work, like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting. I don't know. It's one of those situations where nobody's owed anything. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that you have to work to get known. You have to work to get seen. You have to put in the work. And when you get to those points where you're lucky enough to shepherd some of these characters or even your own, right? There's a responsibility to that. You shouldn't just follow the whims of people. You shouldn't just cater to your fan base. You should still tell your own stories. You should still do that kind of stuff, and so I agree. So if that's what Scott Snyder is doing, cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's what a lot of these people are doing, cool. But a lot of those creators aren't doing that, right? They're legitimately out there. They're either virtue signaling. There's stolen valor. There's whatever, all this other shit, And so you have to understand that not everything is pure. Right? Not everything is from the creator's heart. It's not the thing that they need to get out of them, when every morning when they wake up. Some things have ulterior motives. Some things are done, whether it's to prove a point, whether it's to piss on other people's work. You know, spite is a very powerful motivator, right? And so, like, people do things creatively, functionally, daily, because of spite, because of their distaste, their displeasure for even the status quo, right? Like, and so a lot of people are going to create things that aren't in the best interests of the IP they're working on, the people they work with, the people who are depending on them, whatever, right? And so you just got to be aware of that. Like that, I don't know, like, and maybe it's an overtly cynical way to look at the way it is, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. Yeah, you do know Pitt, but but would have been able to tell you who made it. Yeah, well, I mean, see, that's the thing, right? Like, it was also interesting. Like, when we were growing up, we didn't really know who any of these comic book creators were. Like, you didn't know who Jim Lee was. You know, was he the son of Stan Lee? Like, you didn't know who Alan Davis was. You didn't know that, you know, who Ryan Benjamin was. You didn't know the skin colors, the race of people. You didn't know any of that kind of stuff. You were just like, I know that when I read a Mark Silvestri book that I like it, right? I know when I read a Todd McFarlane book that I like it. I know that when a book is written by Chris Claremont, I like it, right? And that's it. That was it. Like, you just kind of eventually kind of picked up on that stuff, but you still didn't know who they were. You didn't know them as people. Didn't know what they looked like. You didn't know any of that stuff. And I kind of miss that. I kind of miss not knowing the leanings, the ways of people, you know. But that's just me. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Bancroft wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. You can play with their creations, but they're not yours to break. Here's the thing. I don't think that Absolute Batman is disrespectful per se, Noah. Right? Because here's the thing, right? But I would be curious is if DC had a proper editorial team, because a lot like Marvel and DC are kind of fucked, right? Like, they don't have keepers anymore. They don't have lore masters. They don't have guys who come up to you and go, if you do this with Wolverine, it might be irreparable damage. We don't want you to do that, right? Like, you need shepherds of shepherds sometimes, right? And so you need a guy to come in and go, I don't think this is in the best interests of the company, the character, moving forward, right? You need people to come in and say, this is a bad idea, right? And it might have changed it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you look at, like, the Riddler in Absolute Batman, he's just a dude with his brain's half exposed and it's all metal plates and dumb shit like that, right? You got like a lot of the stuff isn't marketable. There is no brand to it, right? It's kind of, some of it's just grotesque and weird for the sake of being grotesque and weird, right? It's the same, like, like Absolute Batman, to me, like, the biggest, and it's the funniest thing, the biggest signifier of the problem with that Batman is that fucking bat signal. It says everything top down is busted with it, right? Because if you look at that logo on a t-shirt from somebody standing across the room, it just looks like a big black rectangle. It doesn't stand out. It's not like the Spider-Man or the Superman logo or an old Batman logo, right? It can be, you can see it across the road, across the parking lot, and see a guy in a Batman shirt and go, that's a Batman shirt. You see the Absolute Batman logo and you're like, the guy's got some kind of black blob on his thing. And so there's a lot of, like, unmarketable, unappealing, unaesthetically design-pleasing aspects of Batman that tells me it wasn't well thought out. It tells me that there's not enough hands or eyes on that work to kind of go, this is a mistake. This could be better, right? Like there's not enough keepers, not enough shepherds that are guiding that project, for better or for worse, right? Like sometimes you can have too many cooks. There can be, too many cooks in the soup, as it were. But I do think that like that book could have used some pushback, right? Like you can still get the same absolute Batman with tweaks, right? Like you can still get somebody come in and go, man, I think the Joker could be a bit more this. I think that the Riddler could be this, right? And then, because that's the thing too, right? Like when you're given boundaries, when you're given limitations, it's often better for creativity. When you can just do anything, you kind of get lazy, right? Like, and you can see that when people have all the time in the world to make their comic book, it doesn't come out as fast as it probably should, right? It doesn't come out in a manner in which the fan base still stays hungry for it, right? So if you can just do anything and you have no limits, then you'll just kind of keep going. You'll just kind of keep sputting stuff out there. And if nobody pushes back on it and goes, well, that's kind of weird, like that's not really Batman, how do we make a figure for that? Who buys that? Right? Like how, like this is Batman. And like, and it, like a lot of these questions wouldn't get asked on, Tom the Tank Engine or whatever, right? Like they're not going to be like, oh, I'm making a shirt, I'm making a whatever, right? Why does this logo, why is it in Comic Sans? Like, why is Tom the Tank's logo in Comic Sans? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, right? Especially what's the problem when people are loving the work the new creator is doing? Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think it's all problems. I think there are some problems, and I'm not saying that the work is bad in an all-encompassing manner, Noah. I'm just saying that in some aspects, it could have used some checks and balances, right? To be a more complete, thoughtful work. Some of it doesn't feel thoughtful. Some of it just feels like dumb for the sake of being dumb. Some of it feels like oh, people are gonna hate this, let's do it, right? Like some of even some of the designs, like even when you look at like Killer Croc and shit like that, they're just like I'm just like, that's unappealing. Not even in like a ooh, that's gross, or ooh, that's whatever. It's just not designed well. Like his face is at the end of his nose as if he was a crocodile. It's like the weirdest looking, like dumbest kind of thing, is like teeth and stuff. It's like, you can design cooler looking creatures than that. Like, right? If you want to make a weird croc, kind of mutant zombie monster, whatever you want to do, with a lot of these characters, some of the designs are just weak. Like, I can't help that. I can't help but look at some of them and go, that looks stupid. In any universe, I don't care if it was a manga, I don't care if it's Marvel, DC, anywhere, that croc design looks stupid. Right? And so some of that stuff just leads through all that entire book. Like some of it just looks like they were throwing shit at the wall and somebody went, that one, I guess we'll make Croc look like that. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that they had to adhere to everything that was Batman. But like some of it just doesn't feel bad. Like, and I've even seen people like saying that the Daniel Warren Johnson Absolute Batman, that annual, they wish that that's what Absolute Batman was, right? Like that get rid of Scott Snyder's version of it and let's adhere to this version and move forward, which I find pretty interesting, right? But yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, well, exactly. Like, and that's the thing. Like the Punisher and Star-Lord and a lot of these characters and stuff like that, I get spited just because of stuff like that, right? What was the last book that made 1 million sales on a single cover? Geez, I don't. Can anybody tell me? Like, because here's the thing, right? Monkey King of Zealandia. A lot of the books that are selling now are selling at numbers that Marvel and DC would have canceled them at back in the heyday, right? Like if something was dropping below 80,000 copies, they were thinking about killing it, right? Like if you weren't selling 100 or 200,000 copies, and now we have like books like from Marvel and DC that are selling 4,000 and 5,000 copies, and they just do 6 issues, it dies, they launch a new #1 for Nightwing, it sells a few issues and dies, they do another one, it sells a few issues, they did it with Miss Marvel, all that kind of stuff, right? And so, yeah, like over the course of time, like they just kind of keep rebooting stuff and nothing sticks. Like that's kind of the problem with modern comics, is that like 5,000, like if you're an indie creator, you would love to have 5,000 people backing your book. But if you're a large company, 5,000 people, when something like Demon Slayer is selling 10 million copies, 5,000 people is nothing. You're wasting time, like in the larger picture, right? Like to me or you, 5,000 people buying your book as an indie creator would be amazing, right? It'd be life-changing financially for most creators, right? But if you're a big company, 5,000 copies is barely enough to keep the lights on or even pay the people that made that book that sold 5,000 copies. Like, I don't think people even understand the cost that goes into just making and printing and distributing these books, right? So, and that's the thing. Like, if it, and when it says $2.99 or $3.99 on the cover, Marvel and DC aren't getting that. They might be getting 80 cents of that, maybe $1, right? Like, they're not getting the full thing. Like, the distribution takes a cut, the stores take a cut, you know. So yeah, like I think that's the thing that a lot of people aren't even like thinking about. What we got here? Bancroft says that leads into your larger discussion. We didn't know the artist back when the art was ubiquitous. Now every artist is expected to market themselves and their own audiences on social media. Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like we have to be our own HR, our own human resources, our own PR. We've got to be our own managers. We've got to be our own promotional arm. We have to be like our own secretary. We have to do all this work, right? Like, and like I have to decide if I'm going to actually get work done, right? Like you know, actually, or am I gonna stream and barely get any work done, right? Like, and that's the thing, right? But you also have to stream to be visible. You have to stream so that people know you're alive. If you don't stream for a week, people are like, where did that guy go? And then they move on to somebody else, right? Like you have to, it's a hearts and minds thing. You have to be visible. You have to be interesting. And a lot of people fucking aren't interesting on the internet. And you have to like market yourself, and then you still have to be good, right? Like you still have to be, and I'm not going to say talented because I hate that word, but you still have to look like you're going to provide a product that is worth people's money, right? Like even if they like you, right? Like that's the thing. Like even if people like you, they're not necessarily going to support you financially, right? And so you can be out there and doing all this kind of stuff, and they can enjoy your content, and they can enjoy the conversations you have, and all that stuff. And then if you put out like a book that's even kind of subpar, they're going to be like, nah, I'm good, chief. I like you, but you can't have my money. Like, you know what I mean? And so a lot of times you just have to earn it. Like, you know what I mean? You have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, and you have to earn your customer base. You have to earn the people who, you know, even in spite of their dislike for you, the work has to be good enough for them to support it, right? Like, because I'm sure there are plenty of people who just can't fucking stand me, right? I'm sure there's tons of people who just are like, fuck that guy, right? They see me on a stream, or they hear one of my hot takes, or I fixed some guns on something one time, and they're incredibly butthurt. They just can't stand that I exist as a human, right? Like, it's just the way it is. You can't please everybody, and not everybody is going to like you, and nor should they. There's nobody that everybody likes. It's just, you know, because even if everybody, for the most part, likes you, there's just going to be people who go, that guy's a fence sitter, right? Like, he's not really taking a side. He's not really taking a firm stance on anything. So why should I give him my money, right? He doesn't stand for anything, whatever, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Now, Noah, algorithms and things trending does not necessarily mean things are marketable and or popular, right? Like, some things get promoted, some things get boosted in the algorithm depending on who's talking about it. There's a lot of factors there. Yeah. Listen, no, I don't disagree. Listen, I don't hate Absolute Batman, just to be clear. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Michael Dicha, what's going on? You see abuses of IPs as failures of managing editors and IP. I agree with that 100%. They hire the artists and writers who are allowed to even encourage to do them. Yeah, and I do think that is a big part of the problem, right? Where a lot of the keepers, the gatekeepers who should be gatekeeping, I'm a firm believer in gatekeeping. I feel like you should gatekeep the people you hang around with. You should gatekeep the people you work with. You should gatekeep the people who you allow to work on your IP. Right? Like, in whether it's a company, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I do think that, and I don't think it's bad. I don't think that it's bad. I think that, like, having a standard of who you align yourself with, who you work with, and who you allow to be in your space, your friends, all that kind of stuff. I think that shit's important. And I you can be acquaintances with people, you can be friendly to everyone, right? Like, as long as they're cool with you, you can be cool with them, right? You can be friendly. But I do think, like, because even when you're streaming, right? Like, if I go on a stream with somebody, a lot of people automatically, immediately assume there's a friendship, a connection, that you talk all the time, all that kind of stuff, right? When the reality for a lot of people is they don't. They don't have any real connection other than the stream they happen to be on, right? And so I do feel like for a lot of people, that association can be detrimental to them, right? And so if you're going to extrapolate that out into the larger picture, if you're going to work with people who are going to damage your property and your personal brand, whether it's Marvel or DC, you're doing yourself a disservice in the long run. You're always going to be hurting yourself if you're not gatekeeping those aspects, right? And I do firmly believe that. I 100% believe that you shouldn't allow everyone into your garden, so to speak, right? And I feel like that's happening a lot with IPs. And look at all the remakes and all the weird garbage movies we've gotten in the last 10 years. Right? Like, look at all the Disney live action stuff. Like, there's just a ton of it. Like, and it's like, why would you do that? Like, why at any point in time would you go out of your way to, like, potentially destroy? Like, look at Star Wars. Holy shit. Like, Star Wars was a license to print money. And look what they did to it. Like, people won't even buy action figures. Like, people who are into Star Wars won't even buy Star Wars. Like, that's how much they've destroyed it. Right? Like, it's so crazy. Right? Like, I honestly can't even get over it, right? Because you're seeing all that stuff. Like, there should be tons of great Star Wars games out there, and movies and cartoon shows and toys and Lego and everything. And they've made it like just nuclear, like toxic. It's like Fukushima blew up all over Star Wars, and now no one will go near it. Right? Like, it used to be a brand that, like, people loved unconditionally. So crazy. Yeah, it's just nuts. Michael Dicha in here, that's one advantage of a big corporate enterprise. They have resources, distribution, etc. They have artistic core integrity. It's great. If not, they just mass produce a lot. Well, but that's kind of the thing, though. Like, right? Like, you can Like, and I get it, right? Like, and Star Wars is the perfect example of that. You can mass produce all the slop you want, but at some point, the slop gets to be too much, even for the mass market consumer, like the people who aren't in the know, who just kind of on the weekend heard there was a Star Wars movie and they go, right? At some point, the negative impact and effects of all that slop eventually run out, right? Like the goodwill gets burnt off, right? Like, and that's why Star Wars is in the state it's in now, right? Because all that goodwill got burned away, right? And even casual people aren't into Star Wars anymore, right? Like even casual people don't talk about Marvel movies anymore, right? Like there was a time when you'd just be like, your rando normie friend would be like, are you going to see the new Thor? Are you going to see the new whatever? Because it had a you know, this mass this critical mass that it reached within kind of the general conversation of humanity, right? Like the pop culture critical mass, everybody knew what it was. And so it was an event. And so everybody went to see Thor. Everybody went to see the Avengers. Everybody went to see that stuff. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that kind of stuff is, to me, like really interesting, really, really cool to look into and look at and see how we even got here, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like to understand that, like, all that stuff is super interesting in terms of how we got here. Like, right? Like, because when you thought that Marvel and DC were going to be in the state they're in now, never. I never would have thought that Marvel and DC would be selling 5,000 copies of a book, right? I never thought that when Disney bought Star Wars that they would run it into the ground. Right? Like I was kind of like, oh shit, they're going to have money to make cool Star Wars. Maybe they'll get Star Wars to a place that it never could have gotten before, right? Because they have the funding, they have the backing, they have all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to see more Star Wars than we've ever seen before. Instead, everyone's like, I've seen more Star Wars than I've ever wanted to see. Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit, right? And so, yeah, I do think it's really interesting. I do think it's really like something to be studied, right? Well, and that's true. Like Disney was still making good movies, right? There was still all kinds of good stuff coming out, but then it's like you had like Kathleen Kennedy and you had like all this Forces Female stuff, and it's like you tried to shift a male brand. Like George Lucas has said it 1 billion times. Star Wars is for 12-year-old boys. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is 100% boys. Like 100% for kids. They're getting very excited about seeing this magical space adventure. You know, guys fighting with lightsabers, a big samurai in black armor. You know, breathing all heavy and looking all like, you know, all scary. Like all that stuff, if you look at Star Wars from that lens, if you look at it from the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, all that kind of 80s, like 70s, 80s kind of like fantasy, legend, you know, with Tom Cruise, all that kind of like, you know, if you look at it from that kind of sci-fi kind of fantasy lens, all that stuff was kind of made to kind of like be like kind of fearful and exciting and interesting to kids, right? Like a lot of that stuff, because, you know, a lot of us are kids at heart, right? We still find hope and excitement and interest in the hero's journey, in becoming something more than you thought you were, right? Like, and so that the whole appeal to all those things in all those movies is the hero's journey, is that, you know, when you're a kid, you know, someone picks you because you're special. They pick Luke, and he was nothing. He was like a moisture farmer on a sand planet, and and so that immediately appeals to, hey, I'm just a small town farmer boy. It seems like there's nothing in my life, but there could be a bigger adventure out there for me. And I think that kind of appeals to a lot of people, and they just drifted away from that, right? Like if they would have kept down that road, even if it was a new character, right? Or even like I said it before, and I think it's the biggest missed opportunity on the planet, is that they should have taken Sebastian Stan, the guy who was in the Marvel movies. He should have been Luke. They should have been like, here's Luke's continuing adventures with Sebastian Stan. They should have kept going like right after the initial trilogy, like from the 70s, the original trilogy, and just plop Sebastian Stan in as Luke. Goldmine. He looks just like a young Mark Hamill, but he's like fit for the role, right? Like he could do all the sword fighting. He's still young enough that he could meet Mara Jade, all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think they just dropped the ball. I think the lack of vision that they had, like if you just even look at Sebastian Stan for 2 seconds, it's baffling, right? Disney was never successful with space opera like the Black Hole, Tron Legacy, John Carter from Mars, whether they like them or not, they all tanked. It's true. I actually love that John Carter movie. I'm apparently one of the handful of people who love that movie, but it's excellent. The idea that only kids like kid stuff and adults should have their own stuff is a relatively new idea. Family entertainment meant all ages, making Star Wars more adult focused was big. I agree. Like they should never have had a lady say she was raped in Star Wars. That's all I'm going to say. Like modern Star Wars has like all this like implication of rape and sexual abuse and like all this weird shit in all the TV shows. And it's like, dudes, it's supposed to be like, it's supposed to be like Xena, warrior princess fantasy, like Hercules. Like it's supposed to be that 50s aesthetic of sci-fi, space opera, fantasy, lighthearted, like, oh no, Jane, don't fall off that cliff. Like, oh, I've fallen into those whatever pits. But yeah. Like, I do, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I shake my head. But yeah, like, it should have never, like, even when you go back and look at like the cartoons, like Clone War, the first season of Clone Wars for Star Wars is excellent, stuff like that. But just seeing them try to make it more adult just totally ruined it. Like it's in a weird way, it's kind of like an interesting parallel to what happened with the deconstruction of superheroes, right? Like when they deconstructed all the superheroes and made everything dark and gritty and had to like, make their angry version of Superman and all this kind of stuff. When they did all that kind of stuff, that was kind of like, that's when the heart and the purity of, heroism was lost, right? And so you just didn't have the same kind of like Boy Scout heroic adventure that Superman would go on after it was like, oh, here's all this, and here's this badass guy, and here's an anti-hero, and here's like, I do think a lot of that was lost in in the 90s and in the early 2000s, right? Where they kind of ruined all that stuff. And then it's like, and if you extrapolate that and bring that into Star Wars, where now everything's got to be like Star Wars had its grit and gritty, time, and plus all the woke shit and the Mary Sue, Rey, all that stuff. I think a lot of that stuff like coalesced into just crushing Star Wars as a property, right? Like, yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah, so weird. This is another kind of webinar. Yeah. No, it is interesting, right? Like it's one of those situations where like you kind of do see once they made Star Wars more adult, it really did destroy it, right? Like once the fantasy, because even when you see those movies, how dark they were, like with the Emperor, like in the Rian Johnson movies and all that kind of stuff, and like, you know, how like just defeated and crotchety Luke is, you know, in that movie, right? Like, and it's like they had no option creatively to make him a happy and hopeful character, right? Like it's super interesting to think about, like just how they just drove it all into the ground. It's so crazy. Mm-hmm. You unironically, KSS here, unironically loves the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean films. If you look closely at Gore Verbinski's swipe from the original Star Wars trilogy. Yeah, and that's the thing though, right? Like even those movies, right? Like as things go on, right? Like people need to know when to stop too, right? Like it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, they're like on what, like 7 movies now or something like that? Like, oh, hold on. Actually, what's funny is when okay. Yeah, I exercise nipple control. Just hold on. We'll go down here, and we'll just like we'll indicate. But yeah, like it's super funny to me, right, to think about just how like destructive all that was, right? Like because you had like you basically had a license to print money with Star Wars, and you just destroyed it. So weird. Yeah, well, and the thing is Johnny Depp is great in them, right? Like, you know, and actually most of the characters like in the first 3 Pirates movies are like enjoyable to watch, right? Like there's a lot of fun in those movies. And I think that's kind of the thing too, right? Like if you're having fun, it's contagious, right? Like it fun breeds more fun, excitement breeds more excitement. And when you're enjoying yourself and when you're doing that kind of stuff, other people enjoy themselves, right? That's really what it's about. Yeah, it's interesting. The Lucas Museum of Narrative Art is officially opening. So, ooh. Also includes some. Oh, I'm also hello, some person. If I did not say hello. Yeah, it's so weird. So weird. Because of the nipple, Sumo? Is that why he threw up? Yeah, see, like I'm getting very little work done. That's how it is. This is why I don't stream art much, because you rarely get anything worthwhile done. You know. Yeah. That 4 of the 5 Pirate movies are excellent. Yeah, like, well, what's funny is like, and it's also, I think about that with the Alien movies too, right? Like, it's one of those things where you think about it a lot, where you're like, ooh, you know, I like these movies, but they've had some missteps for sure, you know. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get it going. I don't know. It's just how it be. But yeah, now that I've ranted for God knows how long, we'll have to get some work done. But yeah, we're just kind of get all our shapes, all our forms here, you know. Keep everything going. You got an art share tonight, Bancroft? Is that what's going on? I feel like that's a thing. So a discussion about Ryan. Oh yeah, Ryan directed it. Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Oh, hey Shelby, what's going on? Did you see Terry Moore is going to be on Tucci Day? Yeah, he's got a how to draw art book thing going, doesn't he? Doesn't he get a Kickstarter for that? I assume that's why he'd be on Tucci's. You know, out there getting it tooched. You know, two in the tooch. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I have to see what good old Terry Moore is up to. You know what I'm saying? Do. 50 American minutes or Aussie minutes. What time is it right now? Yeah, it's 9:30 for me. So, yeah. So yeah, about 50 minutes. Get all the sword action. Let's cover that up so I can see the shape. There we go. Yes, you missed the absolute Batman discussion. There was a lot of it. I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's like my thoughts and opinions on absolute Batman haven't really changed any. You know? You know, it kind of is what it is kind of thing. I'm gonna move her over a bit. You know. But yeah, you should review it on YouTube. Why not? Right? Like I'm assuming Noah that there probably would be a Noah-esque aged audience that would probably be interested in you reviewing Absolute Batman. Do you know what I mean? I'm assuming that's a thing. Right? So that's just me. Because, like, here's the thing, too, right? Like, I don't know, there's probably a lack of positive reviews about things in general, right? Just straight up on a lot of these books, right? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a ton of shill reviews. I don't know. Maybe there's a ton of people who are just out there constantly filleting Absolute Batman, saying how great it is. You know, but at the same time, you know, maybe, listen, Noah, maybe it might be good promotion for your book, right? Like you could basically review each issue and then at the end do a little promo for your book. It might be a good idea. Might be a good idea. You could be like, hey, if you like Absolute Batman, check out Mavericks. One man fighting a world to save his own. Let's go. You know? That kind of thing. That kind of thing. You know, what is the future like when this one man fights a world to save his own? Mavericks. You know, that kind of thing. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Who, me or Noah? Who's got to? Who's? I'm working on it. I'm working on it, so person. You know, I'm just trying to grow it up, dude. Why? You're shocked I know the tagline? No, I own it. Hold on. Where's it at? No, that's Kill Journal. No, that's Lost Pages. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Look at this, Noah. Look. Mavericks Decimation. Volume 2, Judgment of Doom. You know? I'm just saying, Noah. Just get out there, promote your books, and say, what up, dog? You know? Yeah. MV2X. Damn. What's Sumo's point? This better be Red Sonja, not some rando warrior babe. It is Red Sonja, Sumo. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're keeping it clean, you're keeping it trim, you're keeping it smooth for the ladies. Is that what you're saying? You're out there on these virtual streets, screeting it up. You know? I don't want that there. I'm gonna make my eraser big. Do you know what I hate between Photoshop and going to Clip Studio? Is that usually you can just right click on the pen in Photoshop and it brings up your pen sizes. Listen, Sumo, let me tell you something about my trim. Ooh, damn, it's good. You know, that's all I'm saying. Nice piece of work. You know? Yeah. So let's not worry about it. Woo! You know? Yeah, I don't know to tell you. It's just how it is. We're not comparing pen sizes, Sumo. All my pens. I'm gonna grab this, Sumo. I'm gonna tell you about what's left of my Hawaiian Host nuts. No. Yeah, I don't know. Just laying shit out. Just trying to decide what I'm doing. You know, flipping my lady, getting her belly button sorted. You know. But yeah, you know how it is. It's just the way it goes. Some things will never change. And all that jazz. You know? That's just me. See, it's weird. Like, whenever I'm doing this kind of stuff, right? Like, I just kind of work everything out and kind of paint backwards. Like, I draw in a weird painted way, I've realized. Right? Where it's like, I rough everything in and then I peel everything back. You know? Tell my mom. I mean, I could. She might like to know. You know. Right? But like I said before, like, I feel like the way I work is like kind of just the same way you would work with like a light box, right? Like I kind of like sketch the stuff in and then kind of flip back and forth to make sure I like it, and then like start cleaning up the lines before I even get to inks, right? Like I'm just like, I know a lot of people would probably just like be like, okay, you got this piece here, and then they just start inking over it, right? Or on a separate layer do digital inks over it or whatever. But I like to like do like a clean, kind of cleaned up pencil thing. Figure out, like, make sure that all my anatomy is good, my hands are good, all that kind of stuff. My face is good. And then just start cleaning it up, right? Just start like erasing the rough stuff. You know, I don't know. Just how it be. It's just one of those things, right? And so, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting it done. But yeah, like this is the thing, right? Like when you're working on a stream, it's hard to feel like you're actually getting anything done because, you know, you spend however long talking and interacting with the chat. And yeah, it just feels like work that you would have gotten done in 20 minutes took you 2 hours, you know. All right. Say to yourself, how caked out do I want this to be? I want all the cake. Right. Right, to me that looks wrong. I'm gonna fix that. To come up over the sword. Right, it's gonna be back there, yeah. And the thumbs down here. You know? What's going on? You baked yourself a cake today. Burned it. Damn, Shelby. Yeah, no, it really does. Like it's not the same, right? Like there's like a flow state that you get into when you can just throw on some music, put your head down, and work, right? Like this undisturbed flow, right? And time ceases to exist, and you just kind of work, and then you put your head up and go, whoa, it's whatever time. Crazy. But I got all this shit done. You know? That's my favorite time. But like I said before, like that's kind of the thing with streaming, though, right? Like you kind of have to do all this anyway, right? Like you kind of have to stream so that people see you and know that you're working and don't forget that you exist as a human being. And yeah, all that stuff. What's this? Jay didn't even say hello. I did say hello. I did say hello. What the hell are you talking about? I said hello when you came in. I said, hey, Sumo. And I answered your questions multiple times, which is an acknowledgement of your presence. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that cake had potential. Got left. You left a labor practices / insurance webinar? Damn. Show Jay how to stream like you carried him in Fortnite. Damn. You think you'll be skipping any more coloring live streams? Today's was tough, brain fog. I think, have you been sick lately? Because I know a lot of people, like, on and off for the last 3 weeks, I've just been dying. Like, I'll wake up and I'll feel fine in the morning, and then kind of like by the end of the day, I just feel like hot garbage. Like headache, like kind of fevery stuff like that. Then I'll get up the next day and I'll kind of feel okay. And then as the day goes on, I just feel like garbage again. And yeah, it's just weird. It's just this kind of like weird thing. And it's like I've just been trying to find the part of the day where I'm functioning well and do stuff like that. But like, yeah, I feel like I don't know if it's like some kind of flu that's going around or something, but like I definitely been like off for sure. Oh, just kind of worn out. Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens, man. It happens. Like, I know with like a lot of this stuff, like, you know, it's like I've been like, you know, working on the house, working on like all the art stuff I have to do, work, just regular work, like, and then trying to stream and do all stuff. Yeah, you just get burned out. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, and there's just always something to fucking do. It's, you know, just how it is. You seem to be in a fog. I almost asked how you're doing, then I left. Damn, Sumo. Sumo's a fickle mistress. He almost cared, and then he didn't. I see how it is. But yeah, it's just how it goes. Yeah. Well, and that's the kind of thing too, right? Like, because like typically, like, you know, my Cintiq, even though I lift it up, you can't. Oh yeah, you can see it, right? Like, you're working, and you're working like this. Your head's parallel to the angle of the screen. Like, you know, you're just looking down, working. And so, like, even just to lift your head to look at the chat, right? Like, just disturbs that flow, right? Like your thought process, the things that you were laying out and thinking steps ahead of what you're going to work on are completely obliterated by looking up and seeing what people are saying, right? And then getting into that conversation, answering that the questions that are asked and stuff like that, right? Like, and so it's like I've kind of decided with a lot of like the art streams and a lot of the streaming stuff that I'm just going to do them, and whatever gets done gets done. And if nothing gets done, I'm fine with it. Right? Like I have other stuff I'm working on. I got this, that, the other thing. It just all gets done eventually. Right? Like, and so like if I was working on anything that had to be done in a timely manner, I wouldn't do it on a stream. I would just do it, get it done, out the door, you know. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Right, like that kind of stuff. You just kind of have to make those decisions. It's like, is this time going to be well spent? Probably not. You know. But I even see it with like other streamers, like even like pros and stuff like that, who are like doing these streams that are like an hour or 2 hours long. Half the time, some of them don't even like look at the chat the entire fucking time. They just stream, they work, they grumble to themselves, and they occasionally might look over at the chat and be like, "Oh, hello, so and so," and that's it. Like, it's kind of interesting to kind of see like other people's streams, but also like what kind of blows my mind, right? Like, I'll see people with like 20, 30, 40,000 like subscribers on their channel, and they're lucky to get 15 or 20 people in their streams. You know, some of them may be higher, like 80 people or something like that, but comparatively it's still really low, right? Like, and so with a lot of that stuff, like I'm you know, surprised and impressed that 10 or 15 people show up to my streams, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you're just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, if somebody who has like, you know, 20 or 40,000 subs is only getting around 15 or 20 people, sometimes 80, and around that same kind of low end number shows up to mine, I appreciate it. Like, I'm just like, hey, cool. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know, people seem to get like really like torn up and bent up about like their followers and their all that kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of like, man, you can't really control any of it, right? And it's like, and a lot of it's timing too. There's a lot of people who are just different time zones and all that kind of shit. So it's just you just kind of have to go when you go, and you get the turnout you get, and you just kind of keep going. Like, yeah. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I have found like it interesting, right? Just to kind of look at a lot of that stuff. Look at what other people are doing, because sometimes like I'm looking at what other people are doing so that I know what not to do. You know what I mean? Not necessarily to follow what they're doing, but just like sometimes I see people doing stuff and I'm like, nah, that ain't it, chief. I won't be doing that. Especially with a lot of this crowdfunding stuff too. Holy shit. You've been in the chat of 8,000 and the streamer somehow picks up on my comment. Well, I mean, you can run the chat slower. If you're a streamer, there's like streamer mode for the chat. You can like do all that kind of stuff. But also some people just recognize names, right? There's like a big flow of people just passing by and they go, oh, I recognize that name. I'm going to read it. I recognize that person's icon. I'm going to read it. It is what it is. It's one of those things. But yeah, it's always very interesting to kind of see what people are doing. I personally, like, especially like not even in the streaming space, but just in the creator space, because like a lot of people just are doing really some interesting, some baffling, But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's hard to know what to do. It's hard to know how to attract and keep an audience. Just kind of depends. Everybody's looking for something different too, right? Like, I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who are just kind of like, I don't even know what this is, but whatever. A bunch of this dirt out of here. I'm all about that wrong chat post life. Oh, I was almost going to let your stream run in the background of my webinar, but the danger of typing in the wrong chat was too great. Oh, that'd be funny. Especially some of the things, you'd post something about like tater tots or whatever in a work thing, and they'd be like, what? Excuse me? What are you talking about? You tater in that tot? You know what I'm saying? You could be in a Michael Bancroft chat of about 20-something and he won't even know I'm there. Oh, damn, Sumo. I'm pretty sure he appreciates you. I'm pretty sure he appreciates you. I think her boobs are okay. We'll see. All right, I'm still in the flirting with sketching stage, trying to define where I want to go. Yeah, ribs. Yeah, well. That there. Yeah, that's where my light's gonna go. Cross these knuckles. Crossed here. Shoulder. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. See, here's the weird thing, right? Like, all this like shading that I'm putting in, like here, like, you know, anywhere here. This is me thinking that it's going to be like digitally colored, right? Like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like this part here is going to be a darker shadow under her armpit. It's going to be a lighter gradient into her waist. It's going to be darker here, right? Like whenever anytime I draw digitally, I'm like, I'd lay the stuff in and then I'm going to remove all that cross hatching / sketch lines that indicate shadow. All that stuff's going to go away. Just always how I've worked. And so it's like just me thinking about where the lighting's going. Right? Like, and just being like, yeah, later, when I remove all this stuff and drop black over it and then throw it to 25% and then hit it. You know? It's like, yeah, behind her hair will be all shaded in. All right. All right, all under here will be shaded. this bubble. This bubble. Right? Because like here's the thing. Hold on. I'll just do this. I'll just do this for fun. Let's throw a new layer here. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Like once I get like this all cleaned up and get into actual like digital coloring, I will literally just come in and do this. Right? Like I will hit a lot of this stuff with black, right? And you'll be like, oh, he's just crazy heavy ink. But then I will take this thing and go whoop, and go like to 25. And then I'll hit it with overlays and colors and stuff. And like, you know, then you don't have heavy blacks. You don't have any of this. You have just tones. You have warm, nice tones. And that's what I like. I'm not trying to emulate. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've just never been interested in trying to emulate, like, comics. As weird as that is to say, like, I just don't have any interest in, like, emulating, like, American comic book art style. It's just never been my want. Right? Like, and so, I mean, and obviously there are things like that I see in American comics and stuff like that I like, but it's never been like, you know, I've never been like, oh, I've got to do all that cross hatching. I've got to do, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, I'd just rather do blends and stuff with color, right? To get that same effect, right? You know, understanding that when her butt cheek comes down here and there's an indent for her hip and butt and leg, you know, understanding that anatomy is more interesting to me, you know, than cross-hatching it all in. Right? And then, like, you go, ooh, I see. And then, you know, obviously this is super rough, right? Like, none of this would actually be like this in the end. It would all be much cleaner and subtler, you know. But essentially, you know, it's like kind of flat comic book kind of coloring or cartoon coloring. You know, because like that's the thing. Like most of my cues and like visual kind of thing comes from animation. Like it's the kind of thing where I look at and I'm like, that looks awesome. You know, because sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes I just prefer clean lines, right? Like the understanding that, you know, the simpler, lighter approach has just as much weight. You know. Hey, Edwin, what's going on? How you doing tonight? But yeah, and I think, like, I don't know, I think some of the stuff is, like, good for people to see. I don't think they see enough people doing stuff. But it's like also like, I don't know. It's like I'm always hesitant like to stream art because I feel like I never get anything done during the art streaming time. But then it's like I've also just kind of given up on caring about the art stream having to actually be effective in things getting done, I guess. Right? It's more about people just wanting to see what you're doing. What's going on tonight, Buzz? You could do well with the Barton Bros, the one with the How to Draw Comics channel. He talks like a cult member and can go on forever. Yeah, Clayton. I equate Clayton to a yoga instructor. He's like a yoga instructor that you wouldn't want around your girlfriend. And so he's like always talking soft and low and calming. And you should understand that comic books and comic book art is something that you need to understand. And today I'll go over 5 steps on how to achieve and improve your comic book art. Hi, I'm Clayton Barton. Right? And then he just talks. He has that like soft, low talk, and yeah, it's weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's like a weird. I assume he took some course somewhere, and you know, he uses it to sell his comic book course. But yeah, it's an odd choice. It's an odd demeanor to have as a comic book creator. I don't know. Yeah. It's 100% ASMR. Deep breathe. Clench your cheeks. Don't mind my hand on them. I'm holding your butt firmly, slipping further and further in between your thighs. But also, check out these new comic book tutorials. Yes. Breathe deeply. That's right. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird. I've watched a few of Clayton's streams. They're bizarre to me. They're bizarre. They're bizarrely entertaining, and very little is actually ever done on them, which is even more entertaining. But yeah. But I like Clayton and Corey. By the way, just so that anybody doesn't gets it twisted, I do actually like them. They're entertaining to me. Yeah. We had a staff meeting. One of the newer youngins wanted to start with some yoga stretches. This old man did not appreciate Suma doing his downward dog and crying in pain. Oh man. Yeah. Got that downward dog coming in hot. I gotcha. Yeah. I'm just picturing Sumo like you know, doing all his yoga stretches. Goddamn. Oh, Sumo, you poor bastard. I was just mean. Oh my god. Oh shit. Yeah, that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff right there. Oh god. Yeah. I'm telling you. Oh fucking hell. I'm telling you. That's good. That's good, Sumo. I like this. I like this for you. Oh shit. Here, since I'm bored and I'm dicking around. Let me get her up here. Right, since I can just mess and goof, I don't gotta worry about it. What's funny though is I will do this sometimes, like when I'm just working on stuff, just to kind of go like, am I heading in the right direction? And sometimes throwing color on things immediately tells you if you're going in the right direction or not. So sometimes I wasn't planning on it, but since I'm not really doing anything, you know what I mean? I'll just make it visually more interesting. And we'll multiply that. There we go. There we go. So it's not doing a fake color hold. We'll just multiply it. right? And then you're saying to yourself, yeah, there you go. You can immediately be like, it's a red Sonia. Ew. You know? She got green ass eyes. You know? There you go. But like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of times with the color, you can actually experiment with the shades, and then like, if you overlay. Also, I kind of hate coloring in Clip Studio. I find it does weird things with colors and layers that Photoshop does not. Right? Like, so I could pull up like Photoshop things and do certain things, and because of the way the layers are ordered, it will actually treat them differently than if you were in Photoshop, or if you have something in a folder in Clip Studio and then you turn on like an overlay or an opacity kind of change. It actually operates different than if they were all separate and not in a folder. It's weird. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre kind of thing. So a lot of times I've been trying to force myself to work more in the drawing, sketching, layout phase in Clip Studio. But I've still been going back to Photoshop to color everything. Right? Like, just because I've noticed even the way it handles like overlays is completely different than it handles them in Photoshop. It's a very bizarre thing. Just because like right here, if you look, like if I crank this up, notice how the blacks are all even through here. And now if I change this to an overlay layer, see how it clips and there's that red highlight, brighter highlight right beside her face, like, you know, like right here. See how it's doing that? See how it's changing the color? It shouldn't do that, but it's doing it because within the folder, it's treating those layers differently than it would in Photoshop, right? So in Photoshop, the overlay layer would normally just cover the whole thing, but because some of the layers are acting differently, it doesn't treat them the same as Photoshop would. So it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I continue to work in Photoshop specifically because of the way things act like that in that specific instance, you know? But yeah, just how it is, you know? But yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Kind of over it, you know? Just how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. Photoshop CS6, look into it. It's great. Do yourselves all a favor, and don't subscribe to Photoshop. Don't do a monthly anything. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. No? Anyway, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. That's what I think. But first I'm gonna do this.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, hello, Zorak. Brax in the...
I am very attracted to you.
I can hurt you.
Oh, waka chicka wow. This is an outrage.
You know what I'm saying? All right, everybody, I'm done with this. Get out of here. Beat it.
I don't know, you and me are like Coke and icy. Coke and icy. Together, two and two, it will become yummy. Oh, so yummy. You want me, make you happy. I need you right now. Hurt me. Love is okay, but not in a homo way. No homo. I know this sometimes, see, we do talk like a baby. Talk like baby. Finally, I know this, you love me like you love mommy. Love your mother. Coca cannot live icy. Love you like sugar daddy.